Board 2. So the recording is beginning. I'm calling it to order in accordance with the open meetings law. We haven't had a Zoom meeting of our committee since, I think, last June. So I'm going to read some of the rules. It is a practice to conduct remote meetings with all community board members' cameras on and public attendees to leave the camera on when they're speaking. I'll let people know which topics are open for comment, committee members, board members, or the public. If you have questions that fall outside of the public comment time, you can certainly put it in the chat or contact the office, and we will respond. We're committed to providing access. If people need accommodation, please contact the district office 72 hours prior to the meeting. If and when you're speaking, please use plain language and speech at a moderate pace. So now we have roll call and introductions. So I acknowledge the amount of time. And since we haven't really come together as a committee as frequently as we'd like, I'm going to invite people on the committee as they introduce themselves, if you choose, to say something you look forward to. It could be professionally, personally, the weather, you know, or not, just so we try to begin to create a sense of community. So I'm Betty Feibush. I'm the chair of this committee, and I'm looking forward to the new energy from the committee this year. And I'm looking forward to planting my garden. Yeah. And I'm going to ask Nick to introduce himself.
Yes, hi. My Wi-Fi went a little wonkers. My name is Nick Ferreira. I am a committee and a board member. And like I said, I'll be on camera soon. Thanks.
Great. Okay, Alice.
Good evening, everybody. I am a committee member, and the thing that I look forward to, which you're going to hear a little bit more about tonight, is for young people, like really young people, 16 and up, to join our committees as public members. Some work has to be done for that, but that is an exciting prospect for me.
Thanks, Alice. Okay. The next name on this is Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Johnson. I am a committee member and a board member. And things I'm looking forward to. Very exciting 2023. Just looking forward to getting busy and building community, and also building out our committees with some more young people, like Alice is saying as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Rachel.
Hi, sorry, I'm walking home. The traffic's a bit loud. Yeah, I'm a committee member and board member, and I think that I'm very excited to get out of the cold and listen to the Pratt Institute talk. I'm excited to hear about it.
Great. Santia, thank you. Santia.
Hi, I'm still at work, but I am a committee member and board member, and I am looking forward to interesting topics that come to the committee, as well as the youth joining us as well. And hopefully I'll be able to get rid of this cold that I have currently. Thank you.
Okay, so is there any other committee member that I might have missed from my list? No. Okay, so the next item is the adoption of the agenda as written, as was sent to you. Does everybody agree on the agenda? Is there any objections? Hearing none.
No.
Yeah, we'll proceed with the agenda. The previous minutes were from October of 2022. Members of the committee visited the STEAM Center in the Brooklyn Navy Yard Those minutes were written a long time ago. Does anyone have any objections or corrections to anything on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll adapt the minutes by consensus, but if anyone reviews it again and sees a concern, please let the district office know. Okay, so the next section of the agenda is an open session for public comment on the agenda. Since the only topic on the written agenda is a presentation from Pratt Center for Art, Design, and Community Engagement, does anyone have any comments about that item particularly? Not about everything else, you know, that we are concerned with. This is from community members. Okay. So hearing none, we'd like to proceed with our presentation. We're very excited to have Daniel Bergman from the Pratt, who will be talking specifically about the Center for Art, Design, and Community Engagement. And then we'll have time for questions and answers. It's my understanding you're not asking for a letter of support. This is informational. Is that correct, Mr. Bergman?
That's correct.
Thank you. So we're excited to hear about the wonderful things that your organization is doing with young people in our communities.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you all this evening. I have to tell you that before the meeting began, there was a little moment where we were chatting about CB2 itself, and it was asserted that CB2 is, of course, the finest community district in all of Brooklyn. And I would second that only by noting many years ago, when I first moved to New York City, I lived on Henry Street between Kane and DeGraw. So right in CB2 for many years. And now all these years later, and find myself working at Pratt Institute, also in the heart of CB2. The Center for Art, Design, and Community Engagement is about 7 years old, but Pratt's commitment to youth goes back over 150 years, practically to the founding of the institution, where we have records of Pratt reaching out to the community and providing arts and other classes for youth in the surrounding communities. Over time, that morphed into what is probably our legacy program, the Saturday Art School, which, you know, perhaps some of you attended Saturday Art School as youth. My wife, growing up in New Jersey, came in for Saturday Art School classes. And of course, over the ensuing 150 years, any number of programs serving youth in the community rose and fell and got developed. And about 7 years ago, there was a really strong and well thought out decision made to bring at least a significant number of those programs under one roof. And that was the origin of the center, for giving its long name, for Art, Design, Community Engagement K through 12. And we just call it the Center K-12. And so what I'd love to do tonight is walk you through 4 of our programs and dwell on at least 2 of them in greater depth. And the dwelling on the 2 in greater depth has to do with the timing and recruiting and availability of some scholarships. But before getting into the programs in particular, I thought it might be fun just to give you a little bit of a view of the youth that we serve. So for just a moment, I'll share my screen. And this is a map that shows all of the youth that we served in the 21-22 academic year through our on-campus program. So that's about 600 of the 1,000 youth that we serve each year. And you can see in blue are all of our Brooklyn youth, and in purple are our non-Brooklyn youth. So you can see we stretch all the way from Rockaway Beach to the Bronx in terms of the youth that we serve. And I'll zoom in a little bit more and let you see the concentration of youth that we've been serving in the district. And what's missing from this map, for example, are things like our collaboration with PS 270, which is in your district, where we served the entire school last year, providing 18 weeks of programming. And actually this year we're at Dock Street STEAM Academy, right in the neighborhood as well. But you can see the concentration of youth that we serve in and around Community Board 2. So we're proud to be part of the community. So I'll stop sharing that and we'll head over to my slides. So as I mentioned, I'm Daniel Bergman, and I'm from Pratt Center for Art, Design, and Community Engagement, K through 12. The mission of the center is to increase access to art and design education for young people who might otherwise lack access, and to leverage the resources of Pratt to support school-age youth, citywide public schools, and youth-serving organizations. And I'll point out that, for example, Brooklyn Community Services, BCS, right in CB2, is an important partner of ours. We're working with them to bring some services right now after school to Susan S. McKinney. And last year, we were actually working with them in Farragut houses, right in the district. And so the goal for the center is to truly be that nexus, that focal point between the surrounding communities and Pratt, to be sure that we're serving youth who might otherwise lack access, and working with schools and community-based organizations to identify and support those youth. I want to talk with you this evening about 4 of our core programs. I mentioned earlier our Saturday Art School. That's our legacy program that serves youth aged 6 through 18. We have 2 10-week semesters each year. We're just getting ready to launch our spring semester in about 2 weeks. And these are great classes for everyone from interested beginners at all ages to folks who really want to dive in to a discipline. I'll talk at greater length tonight about our DICE program, which is the Design Initiative for Community Empowerment. This is a scholarship program for high school students. We just finished a recruiting drive to bring in 18 new scholars for our semester that's starting in just 2 weeks, but we'll be starting to recruit again in about 6 weeks for next fall. I'll talk at greater length about the DICE program. I think the program I'm most proud of is our Pratt Young Scholars program. Pratt Young Scholars program is a 3-year scholarship program for high school students. They apply in their 9th grade year, and it serves them through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, providing a specialized art and design curriculum and college application support. And we're in the midst of recruiting for that right now. And then I'll talk briefly also about our Summer Scholars program, because that's up and coming as well. So our Saturday Art School, as I mentioned, meets on Saturday mornings from 10 till 12. It's been running since the 1890s. And one thing that's important to know is that financial aid is available for families who can demonstrate that their household income would meet the standards for New York State free or reduced lunch. The tuition for a 10-week semester is $50. For more affluent families, the tuition is closer to $325. So we really want to make sure that the community understands we're able to meet the needs of all kinds of households. Our Summer Scholars program, which again I'll mention briefly, is for middle school and high school students. It's a 2-week intensive. It meets Monday through Friday for 2 weeks in July. And it meets for about 2 hours a day. Some of the classes actually are available for high school students to earn college credit. But one of the courses I want to point out that's really I'm excited about is we offer a couple of sections of middle school portfolio prep. And that's a course that's specifically designed for middle school students who think they might want to apply to selective portfolio high schools. And that course the curriculum is designed to help students develop work that can be part of those portfolios and meet the DOE expectations and regulations for what would go into those selective portfolio high school portfolios. And registration for that program will begin in April. And financial aid also is available. The same thing that we use the free and reduced lunch New York State standards. The reason we use New York State standards free and reduced lunches, as I'm sure you know, New York City, I think with great wisdom, offers free and reduced lunch to all students. So New York City no longer has household income standards for free or reduced lunch. So we use the state standard to determine eligibility for financial aid. Our Pratt Young Scholars Program, as I mentioned, is the program that I'm most proud of. Students apply in their 9th grade year. The application window is open right now. We're accepting applications until March 1st. Students are accepted in their 9th grade year, and they're with us during 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. This program is absolutely free. There is no cost. The only requirements for the scholarship are that the youth are enrolled in a New York City public high school, that their family meets that threshold, it's means tested for free or reduced lunch by household income, and that the youth themselves are committed to the arts. Because it's a 3-year scholarship that not only provides courses on Saturday mornings and on Wednesday afternoons, but it also provides things like SAT prep courses, college readiness and awareness courses, SAT prep, college essay writing support, one-on-one portfolio development meetings, family workshops on filling out FAFSA forms, mentorship with Pratt students. And I'm so thrilled by this program. I'll tell you, 89% of the youth in this program, 95% of the youth in this program are BIPOC, 100% low income. About 50% are first generation in their family to aspire to go to college. About 33% are themselves first generation Americans. And 100% of the youth in this program are accepted to multiple 4-year institutions, all of them with significant scholarship offers. In the last 2 years, out of our 34 graduates, 32 have been accepted to Pratt, 12 are attending Pratt, 1 on a full 4-year full ride scholarship. We also have another alum who's got a full 4-year full ride scholarship to Columbia, and another on a full ride scholarship to Tufts and the School of the Museum of Fine Arts. But not all of our alumni go on to pursue higher education in the arts. We have alumni who are studying forensics and biology, and we love that and we support them and we make sure that they get into the right programs for their interests. It's an incredible program for youth who really love art and design and who want to develop a strong sense of a cohort of friendship and connection to other like-minded teens. And they get to spend time on Pratt's campus. They work in classes taught by Pratt faculty. So scholars get a great portfolio. They earn at least 2 college credits during the 3 years and as many as 5. They work with Pratt faculty, and we become an ongoing resource for them. We stay in touch with our alumni, whether they attend Pratt or other places. We offer them work where we can, counseling and support, and that ongoing community of friends. So some of the colleges that our recent graduates have enrolled in include Pratt, School of Visual Arts, FIT, Columbia, Syracuse, Tufts, Maryland Institute College of Art, Rice, and many more. So, for the right youth, it is such a thrilling program to be part of. And I know within CB2, there are any number of youth who would benefit from being part of this program. We would love your support in encouraging those youth to apply. The eligibility is that, of course, they're 9th graders now entering 10th grade. They attend a public school, have an interest in art, are motivated and persistent, can commit to attending courses for 3 years, and then the income eligibility that I described. I will forward a PDF version of this to you, so you'll have the link available that you can share out. When youth apply, they'll want to have a copy of their most recent report card. a letter of recommendation from an art teacher or a counselor or a school administrator, a personal statement. We just like to get to know the youth through their own words, about 500 words max, and 3 works of art that they can upload. So this is a very selective program. We do have those criteria in place. We want to meet with the students, we interview them, we read those recommendations, we take it all very seriously because we're committing to these youth and we want to really see them commit to us. At a slightly lesser level of commitment, but of as high a level of engagement, is our design initiative for community empowerment. This is another scholarship program. It costs families and youth absolutely nothing, $0 and 0 cents. We provide all the materials, all the supplies, all the tools. The program meets on Wednesdays after school. It is usually a 20-week program. We start with a 10-week semester in the fall and a 10-week semester in the spring. Classes are taught by accomplished professionals and Pratt faculty members. And the idea of the program is to introduce youth to design fields, give them tools to work in those fields so they can return to their communities actually empowered to make their voices heard, and their community's voices heard through these design fields. So for example, we offer courses in graphic design as activism so that youth learn the tools and techniques of graphic design and can become engaged in their community. Maybe start a little graphic design side business, who knows? Fashion and textile design. I mean, who's kidding who? We know that the fashion world looks to the streets of Brooklyn to see what our kids are up to. That's where the fashion trends begin. We'd love to see Brooklyn youth being the marketers of their own designs. Design and entrepreneurship, a course that's rooted in taking the idea, a great idea for a product, learning how to prototype it, and then how to market it. The art of animation, so that folks learn how to do motion graphics, are some of the courses that we offer. So this is a one-year commitment. It is means tested. That is to say, it's open to youth who attend New York City public high schools. They have an interest in art and design, and then they meet those income eligibility requirements. Now, I mentioned earlier that we just finished recruiting 18 new scholars for our semester that's launching. We've added 2 classes this spring. In about 6 weeks, we're going to start recruiting for next year. And we'll start reaching out to schools, and we'll reach back out to you because what we want to do is we want to be able to identify youth and award the scholarships this spring. And in the fall, we can get back in touch and folks can select exactly which class they want to enroll in. That way, because our program starts about the 3rd week after the school year starts, we're not trying to recruit youth during that first back to school rush. So you'll see and hear from us that we'll have 90 scholarships available for youth in the DICE program for the fall, carrying through to next spring. So the DICE application process will open in April. There's the link. I see a typo, which I'll take care of before I send the PDF so that you'll be able to share that out. And when they apply, we'll want to see a report card. Again, contact information for an art teacher or a guidance counselor, someone who can write a brief recommendation, a brief personal statement from the youth. Again, we just want to know what they're interested in, why, and then that demonstration of financial eligibility. So that's the Pratt Young Scholars Program and our DICE program. And those are the 2 I wanted to talk about at most because those are where we're recruiting really actively right now. These are scholarship programs. As I said, there is no cost to them whatsoever. But of course, we have our Saturday Art School, which we'll be launching again and recruiting for in the fall, and our Summer Scholars, which we'll be recruiting for and launching this summer. That's a quick overview of some of what we do, and I'm glad to take any questions.
Yeah, I would like to call first on any members of the committee who have a question. Okay,
Sorry.
who's this?
Hi. Just a quick question. Thanks so much for presenting. These sound like great programs. Are they all in person? Because it is like in a, like they need the supplies and everything, so it's all in person?
That's a great question. Yes, I'm so excited that as of this fall, we are back to being fully 100% in person on campus for all of our programs. We were about half and half through last year, but now we are fully back in person.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking for committee members who might have a question or two. Well, you can think of your questions. I will ask. Oh, is that Sam? Do you have a question?
Thank
I'll
you,
wait.
Daniel, for this presentation. It seems very exciting. I have a question in regards to your partnerships. Whom are your partnerships in? You mentioned Farragut houses, so what are your partnerships also in NYCHA as well?
So as you may know, NYCHA is a very complex organization, and it can be challenging to develop a direct relationship. So our NYCHA programming is all through, we're so excited and grateful for our relationship with Brooklyn Community Services. And BCS has contracts to run cornerstone programs at 4 sites. They're at Farragut houses and Seth Lowe houses, kind of in central Brooklyn. And then they're at Cary Gardens and one other whose name escapes me down in Coney Island. And so last year, we were working with younger youth through BCS at the Cornerstone program at Farragut houses and at Seth Lowe. This year, they wanted to shift the focus to Coney Island. So we're at Cary Gardens serving youth from both of their cornerstones there. They bring them over to Cary Gardens. They're pretty nearby. Working with middle school and high school students this year, actually on computer game design. Working with a teaching artist who's giving students an introduction to how to actually make computer games. It's really cool.
I have a follow-up question with that. And so are you aware of the Mayor's Action Plan and the MAP initiative that's going on with Farragut now being a part of the Mayor's Action Plan and helping with funding with the young people of that project? Have you made any connections with that program on?
No, I would love to hear more about it.
Okay,
Please
yeah, I'm happy to assist with facilitating that. We have a new community liaison, Kanisha Cooper, who is the coordinator for all of the, thank you, Taya, who is the coordinator to help out Ingersoll Whitman, and I believe Farragut, I'm not sure. But I know Whitman and Ingersoll just started doing more funding for young people and expanded that program as well. So yeah, there's definitely young people out there. They're looking for some board members, so maybe we can cross collaborate with that.
That would be fantastic. I would love to do that.
Awesome. Are there any other committee members who have a question or a comment? Seeing none, I will ask my question. I'd like to hear more about how students are recruited. I understand through the Cornerstone programs or organizations, that's very specific, but just when you reach out to schools, and some schools you have a relationship with, and a student has already been in your program and they're the best ambassador for next year's students, but in general, you're looking for, in some cases, 9th grade, 10th grade students, etc. So do you have relationships with specific middle schools? Do you just reach out to guidance counselors in all the schools? How does that work?
That's a great question. And the answer is something like all of the above. Our goal is to reach the broadest range of youth out there. You see that we serve youth from the Bronx to Staten Island to Rockaway. And we manage that by reaching out in a number of ways. So we do have a set of schools who send us kids on an ongoing basis. And we do have a closer relationship with those schools because we just know one another well. But there is then an outer circle of schools that send us the occasional youth, and we definitely have an ongoing relationship with them. And then there are all the schools that have never sent us a youth. So how do we connect with all of them? Well, among other things, we print out brochures that have all the program information and application instructions. And we're sure to send those out to principals, art teachers, guidance counselors at those first 2 rings of schools. And then for the broadest ring, we've now started to collaborate with 65 Court Street. And for example, next week, there is a meeting of 300 art teachers up at the Met, and we've sent brochures for all of our programs up to that meeting. So they'll be available for those art teachers to take. The DOE is sponsoring that meeting, the Office of Arts and Special Projects. And we have a fairly robust social media presence, so that we're reaching out to folks via social media, hashtag Pratt Youth on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we also offer school visits, and we send emails to a very extensive contact list. I think it's close to 200-300 schools on our contact list that we reach out to and offer to send additional brochures or to visit the school to recruit. We also are excited when community partners can refer youth to us. That's always a great way to extend our reach as well.
Great. Are there any more questions from members of the committee or from community board members?
I just have one more question. If anyone else, I don't want to take up too much space if no one else has questions.
Yes.
I don't think I've got the amount of students of enrollment for each one of the programs. Could you recap that for me, please?
Sure. So I'll start with our largest Saturday art school, where we bring about 320 youth onto campus every semester. So we serve about 650 youth a year. The DICE program on Wednesday afternoons, we enroll about 90 to 100 youth on scholarships each year, or each semester. 80, we have about 90 to 100 youth on campus on Wednesday afternoons. The Pratt Young Scholars Program, we admit about 20 to 22 youth each year in the spring, in hopes that by the time fall rolls around, somewhere between 17 and 20 of them will enroll. And so currently we have 54 Pratt Young Scholars. The Summer Scholars Program, I think we're with about 120 youth in that summer intensive.
Thank you. So I see some of my colleagues, my friends from CEC 13. So do you have any questions? I see Ben, I see Cynthia.
Hello, Cynthia. Nice to see you. We've met in other places. Great to see you again.
Yes, yeah, great to see you. I guess we can still say Happy New Year. Yeah, we like the great things that you're doing at Pratt. I just wanted to get on your mailing list because a lot of our principals, they get very busy, but we do have like monthly meetings with them where we can have our superintendent remind them, like, I know you're seeking scholarship students, so that would be great. And also if you could just include us, like the thing that's going on at Met, some of our schools were not aware of it. So it's always like an access thing where certain schools know about it, but if you can just share even opportunities like that, so this way we can include our District 13 schools in that as well.
Sure, Cynthia, I think we have your information.
But I'll put it in the chat again.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you.
And in terms of the Board of Ed meetings, if I learn about them, I will publicize them toward you. But again, that's a Board of Ed run meeting.
No, I understand that. Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see Ben from the CEC 13. Do you have a question, Ben?
No, not at this time. Cynthia covered everything. I like the programs that we're seeing, and thank you for inviting us, Betty.
Anytime. Okay, so now are there questions from any members of the community for the presenter? let's see, you can raise your hand or your electronic hand or just shout out. Okay, so hearing none, I want to thank Mr. Bergman. We want to hear more about, what, is Ellis saying something? What, you want to speak? You're muted.
Yes, it took me, you presented a lot and it was a lot to take in and in a really good way. And I had to really think about it. And I'm wondering, do you provide accommodations for students with disabilities?
The answer is yes, of course, to the degree that we can. And so I'll explain what I mean by that, and I'll add another piece. So Pratt's campus is, of course, on the pathway to being fully ADA compliant. It's an old campus. I can't speak to everybody, but for all of our classes, there are access ways to and from classrooms for students who might have disabilities, particularly physical disabilities. For students who have learning challenges, they can work with Pratt's Office of Student Services to design accommodations as necessary. And within our Saturday Art School, we offer a course called Adaptive Arts, which is specifically designed for youth who have IEPs and particular learning needs. So there are a few different ways, both specifically and broadly speaking, that we want to make sure that our campus and our programs are accessible to all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So as I was saying, we thank you for the work you do on behalf of the young people. Like, I want to be young and go to your classes. They just sound so wonderful. So I hope that you can make some additional connections through the people you've met in our committee today. And we'd love to hear more about it. And in the future, when we speak to organizations, we always love to hear the young people. Once in a while, we had some organization that did stuff with boats, and a young person came and talked to us about how she built boats or that type of thing. So next time we want to see you and one of your young people. So
You got a deal.
Thanks again. Yeah. So the next part of our committee tonight is the chair's report. I'm going to do it a little differently because although we haven't met consistently earlier this year as much as we would have liked, different members have been involved in different things. So I'm going to ask Ellis to speak very briefly on the community, the youth engagement that we've been involved with. Thanks, Ellis.
Sure. Betty and I, and maybe some other people on the committee, joined a presentation that was sponsored by the Department of Youth and Community Services, and it was actually largely conducted by young people. That was way back in December. And these young people were like saying to us, and we were invited, like, we want to be on the community board. We want to have a voice. We want, and in order for us to be able to participate, there are certain, minor changes need to be made, like maybe not use so many abbreviations, which we don't do too much in this committee. And actually, that was, it was a bit inspirational, and we realized that we actually are open to having students on the community board, and the students want to be there, but somehow that marriage is not happening. So we worked on a list. We updated the contact list for high schools in our district. We've been making some calls and reaching out to people to get to contact people for the person in the school that is most likely going to let students know about this wonderful opportunity to join the community board as a public member. And so we're in the process of doing that. It's not finished yet. Different people are working on this. And it's been very interesting. And I just want to say it kind of, when the gentleman from Pratt was speaking, he was speaking, it's really not so easy to contact schools because there's not one person who does, there's not one job title. You have to be willing to, different schools do things differently, so you have to be willing to dig a little. Anyway, it's a work in progress to be continued.
Thanks, Ellis. And I know Sam volunteered to make some calls, and anyone else who would like to call, just let us know and we'll give you schools. Because once we get the contact list and the documents we're going to send, then we think it'll go more quickly. For those that are new to our committee, we've had a history of having young people on our committee. Young people graduate, they go to college, so we always need new young people for us to listen to and them to learn as well. It's definitely a two-way street. So I hate to put you, so I'm doing this by calling on different people. So I hate to put you on the spot, Sam, but Sam visited with some of us on the committee to L10, the Cultural Center. So can you just give us a few words if people weren't able to join us?
So yeah, our committee went to L10 and got a chance to speak with representatives from BAM. We saw it's still a raw space, but it's almost about maybe 75% finished, but they're really moving in a good direction. It's beautiful inside. There's a lot of accommodation spaces that we asked about, making sure that it was inclusive to all community members in the neighborhood, and also those in surrounding participating in the arts. So that was something that we got a chance to see. We also got a chance to see the library space. It's really, really neat. I forgot the curve that they mentioned. That was the name of it.
It was a curve.
It was called a curve, but yeah, it was a very it was a very art-based space, to say the very least. But it was really nice to see that they had intentions about bringing in inclusive spaces and also utilizing the materials so that it can feel like it's not just like a raw space, that is really, thank you, Taya, for the architect renderings. But yeah, the blueprint, they tried to stay as true to it, but they have made some modifications to it. The Makata space is really, really nice, and they are going to expand it to a cafe as well. And BAM is also going to have an archive space and relocate it from, I think, their Crown Heights location, which is really, really far. So they're going to have all of their campus really literally together. So people who are interested in that won't have to travel so far to be able to access all of BAM's beautiful information and access to the theater. They have a few, I think there's like 3 or 4 movie theaters and open spaces that they will have that is in various of sizes, but extremely soundproof, which is great because there's a lot of layers of consultants and other programs that are be in the building. So it's really convenient to know that they're thinking about having the space really like dedicated to the participants when they're viewing. There's another space, and I think that's L10 space as well, where they have the dance program. They are still.
What is the name of that group? Dance?
I want to say Dance Wave, but I'm wrong.
651 Art or something like that.
That's it. It's 651 Arts. Yeah. So they're still working on that space as well. I think they said before the end of summer, by spring, they should be halfway done. And at least by summer, there should be some type of release of it being at full completion. So yeah, the space is beautiful. If you get a chance to open, just look on up. It's definitely raw, but once we get a chance to see it, it's beautiful. And there's a lot of exciting things and programs that we asked about to make sure that there's no discontinuation of what people are accustomed to. So a lot of the young people will be able to use that space as well. And it's really cool. They have a lot of gender neutral bathrooms, which is something I'm really happy about. And ADA accessible.
And the shower rooms were fabulous.
And the shower room, yeah, like the green room and the shower room was really impressive as well. But yeah, it was a really great space, and we're looking forward to having them added on to the campus. But yeah, Makata space is nice and everything else. So yeah, hopefully that's good enough.
Thank you. Yeah. And the location, it's like right above, it's 300 Ashland near Lafayette. It's right above where the Whole Foods is and the Apple store. And there's a parking lot underneath, and you can get an elevator if you can't do the steps.
Right.
And we looked fabulous in hard hats and
Pink
safety
hats, not
vests.
just any hard hats. We were in hard hats that are pink, hot pink. I think we have a photo.
And maybe Taya has a picture she'll
Yes,
show.
Taya has definitely pictures.
Our committee members looked fabulous. Okay. Thank you, Sam. Okay,
welcome.
so my next item, I wanted to talk a little bit about the health fair. The community board is, CB2 is sponsoring the health fair on June 10th in Commodore Barry Park. Last year, it was implemented by the HES committee. And this year, a subcommittee has been established, and we are all invited to be on the subcommittee. And I really want some tables and some organizations that will address the health needs of children. Last year, I understand, and I'm sure, I know Nick was there, but there's blood pressure screening and information about healthy diets and other things like that. But I think our voice as advocates for the young people in our district, I've already talked to the subcommittee about getting some dental service, some handouts of toothbrushes and toothpaste, and maybe demos of like making snacks that kids love to eat that are healthy, you know, something with nutrition. And I was also wondering what people's ideas were about young people's voice and the whole issue of mental health and emotional wellness. People think of health as the absence of a physical illness, but it's really about a sense of well-being and so on. So I invite everybody who's interested to join the subcommittee. They will be meeting and we'll get notices and so on. And I think we really have an opportunity to create an event that will be helpful to young people and families. And Nick, could you speak for a moment? I heard that you were the photographer extraordinaire last time, and you got a shout out in the executive meeting. So tell us about, I mean, I wasn't there, so tell us about what the day looked like for you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Betty. I know Sam was there as well. And of course, Taya supporting it. It was an awesome event that day. It was super turnout from the community, big representation from local institutions, right? Well represented from the hospitals. You know, Mount Sinai, for example, was definitely, you know, very present, a lot of health orgs. Some smaller entities, you know, dental and yoga and really all kinds of things. And then there was a panel on, I think was it African American women and the ridiculous rates of is it mortality with childbirth?
Mortality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a fantastic panel there with some doctors and other medical professionals from the community represented. So yeah, and I just got to walk around and take pictures. I mean, that was just fun. So yeah, so I'm excited to be a part of this, and if we can connect it to YECA in any way, right? Like you mentioned, Betty, and support maybe what schools need in some way, shape, or form. That's really cool. So
yeah, I mentioned it. Thank you so much. I mentioned it at the CEC meeting when Cynthia allowed me to speak, and I invited the CEC and the district because it would be great if the superintendent and the CEC let the families know, and also and especially the schools that are very close, such as McKinney, such as 287, 307. I might be forgetting something, 67. I'm looking at Sam. Yeah, did I get that right? Okay. So yeah. So I hope that the CEC can help us engage some of the community. And I would love to see a table or a tent with information from the Office of School Wellness. Some of you remember that a few years ago, we talked a lot about childhood asthma and what the schools can do with the school nurses to help the young people. And if we could have someone from School Wellness or School Health at a table and give information to parents about asthma and the forms that need to be filled out so the nurses can administer the medications that the doctors have prescribed. We haven't forgotten about that. So we had COVID and all, but yeah. So I hope the CEC can help us with that.
So
and-
when is the subcommittee, Betty? I'm sorry. When did you?
I'm not sure when Mr. Smith sent out one of these schedule things saying when you're available and not, and everybody put in, but he hasn't called the next meeting. I can write to everybody and let people know when the next meeting is. So it's a subcommittee that won't just be talking, but we will be holding on to a piece of work and saying, like I'm going to go after toothbrushes. I mean, I'm going to find some dentists or dental societies to do this. So, you know, everybody has their passion. So yeah, I think it would be very beneficial for us to be involved in this endeavor. So do you have any of the pictures that Nick took? Or Nick, do you have them? Or next time, maybe excite us by showing us some visuals. Okay. Next Monday night, I am told, is going to be a special meeting or public hearing about, remember we work very hard every year on that statement of district needs or district needs statement. And we do research and we write the statements and we say this school needs a playground. I'm looking at Ben's picture in the Zoom square, and you know, this school in District 13 needs a playground because it's all broken up and so on. And oftentimes we don't get very good answers from the city agencies. So we're going to be analyzing the document and seeing, are we going to see the responses as well from the city agencies?
Yes, I may
Yeah.
even be sending that out tonight.
Yeah, that would be great because in the past, all I can say is in the past, they kind of ping pong it back to us. So like we might say a need and then they'll say it's up to the DOE. But then if the DOE hasn't determined that it's a need, you know, where does it go? So Taya is sharing with us about the community district needs. Okay. So we're going to be looking at that, and Taya will, and community members will have a chance to speak. Yeah, it says district members, district residents are encouraged to attend. So if any of the CEC people can show up, I know that I saw something about 287 and also about PS 20 in this rather huge document. So you might want to come out and see what's what with that. Okay. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is about the new school in Albee Square. As I've said before, and you've heard me, that for many, many years, this committee and this school board, this community board advocated strongly for an elementary school on that site. And we're hearing that it looks most likely that the Design Works High School, which is a collaboration with Pratt, which will be an awesome collaboration with Pratt and Bank Street and so on, will use that site for, I believe 1 or 2 years, 2 years, until they get a more permanent site. And they want it to be sited in our community because of the closeness to Pratt and developing the relationship and serving the youngsters that live in our neighborhoods. So I've heard informally from some parents who live in the downtown Brooklyn area and we're anticipating a school. I don't know if anybody is here. Can you identify yourself if you're here and you want to talk about that? Because we can talk about that in a community forum. Is anyone here who has something to say about living in downtown and looking at the elementary school? I don't see anybody at this point. I've spoken to a few people, as I said, informally, but they would need to show and speak. So I'm just letting you know what seems to be planned. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, CEC, but I think that the CEC probably has to vote on that, just like they vote on zoning. So I believe that that would be the next step. And of course, this would not be a permanent siting for the high school. So we still want to engage with young parents to see what kind of elementary school they want when the high school would leave, if that's the plan. So I think there's some work to be done there. So that concludes my chair report. So I'd like to know if there's anyone from the community that wants to talk about this or anything else. I don't see anyone. Okay, so is there any committee business? And I asked Nick to kind of help us in thinking about what topics we want to pursue for the next few months as other committee business. So thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. Thanks. Hi, everybody again. So yeah, real quickly, I think even maybe related to the check-in question a bit, we were just curious about any maybe topics, any specific, entities within Community Board 2 that you want to explore for the remainder, of this year ongoing. What would you like to see this committee do or explore? We'd love to hear.
Well,
And
you're all
I was just
thinking.
going to say thank you to just Ellis and Betty for starting that work with getting young people on the committee.
I've always been interested in the early childhood before the children come to school. And last year there was advocacy to make more low-income families eligible for some type of 3K or even early programs. And now we've seen through the media that doesn't seem to be a priority. But at a recent meeting in my community in Borum Hill, I heard that there will be a new 3K on Atlantic Avenue. I haven't seen any advertisement, any media outreach. How do parents, let's say, who are living downtown or even in Fort Greene or Clinton Hill, who might be able to get their young child to Atlantic Avenue, how are they going to know about it? And how can we help people from our communities access a new program, a new availability of service? So that's something I'm interested in. Are the CEC people
Thank you,
still
Betty.
on?
Thank you.
Are the CEC people still on? If you are, if either of you can
Yeah, Betty,
unmute yourself. Do you have 3K programs?
Yes, we do. We have a 3K center next to Dock Street down there. That's a 3K pre-K center.
Is it
but
a 4, a UPK, or a 3K? Is it the
it's
3?
my understanding that it's supposed to be taking 3K, but we have different schools like PS 307 that has a 3K program. We have 46 that has a PS 46 that has a pre-K program. 287 has a pre-K program, and I believe 67, but I have to go double check with them that they have a pre-K program. I don't know about the 3K program.
Yeah, again, my information might not be totally accurate. I had heard that 287 had a program for the 3-year-olds, but that there wasn't much else for the 3-year-olds. So if that's the case, and if we have a lot of seats on this side of Atlantic for 3K, people are allowed to apply in any neighborhood. They're not restricted by zoning, so it's a possibility.
So I'm wondering if we could get some utilization information, especially for maybe anything in CB2, Betty, see how even 4K or 3K are being utilized or aren't. So we could also be promoting potentially if there are any available slots.
Mhm. Okay.
And I think for my general interest, I am interested in similarly maybe utilization across schools and what schools are struggling to enroll, and maybe hearing more about why they think that is and what we could do to help.
We can provide that. We'll have that for the next meeting. That's easy. We could
Thank
use
you.
some help. Unfortunately, a lot of the pre-K programs are underutilized, especially the 4. That's outside of public schools. Like PS11 is overutilized, but a lot of our other schools that have 4K and some of the 3K is underutilized.
When we studied this, Cynthia, a few years ago, we came upon that people really need more hours because schools, public schools are closed for various holidays, for various days, that they're done by 2:30, if you're lucky, maybe 3 o'clock. And of course, in the summer. So what I researched was that we needed to provide a connection to a CBO or another group that could provide that additional care, because it's too complicated to then try to find a babysitter or someone to, pick up the young person. Have you guys talked about that at all in your meetings?
We haven't really talked about it in our meetings, but a lot of our schools in Community Board 2, because you remember Community Board 2 covers District 15 and District 13, majority of District 13. A lot of our schools are open up on extended hours. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they close up for the regular hours of school, but they usually have after school programs in the school. I think more of it's getting permits to operate any kind of extended program in there, and that might be the complication on it, but that's something that we can look into and talk to the superintendent about. But 287 has an after school program because remember it's co-located with a charter school. We have 307 that has an after school program, and they're there till about 6 o'clock in the evening. We have 67 has a small after school program, but it's mostly comprised of the charter school, which is co-located with. I know 46 has an after school program. So we have a lot of after school programs in a lot of the schools that give us extended time and day. And I think like I said, the only problem is any CBO or anything that to that extent has to have a permit. And I think that might be the complication of we need to be looking into for our parents and community members.
Yeah, so if we could continue this and get some more information, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would say one complication also might be, thanks for that, Ben. A lot of the CBOs are really looking for potty trained 5+-year-olds, unless these are specific early childhood, which unfortunately I'm not aware of it much city money or any city money for early childhood after school. So I'm not quite sure where that's happening.
Would it be helpful for us to bring back that citizens committee for children? Was that helpful when we had them last time? Because they have a clear, like, citywide advocacy program.
Yeah, they had some great data, right? They had really access to some great data and information.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what they have. So that's the little kids. What else?
Anybody else interested? Samantha, anything that we're not doing?
I don't know why it keeps popping in my head, but I think we should try to look more into maybe doula services for people that are coming into the community and needing alternative forms of raising their young people or being able to have treatment for births. I know that it's something that people have mentioned to me before. A couple of people within NYCHA are trying to seek to get their doula licenses. But that is something that I don't know if is of interest, but we have a large population of young people coming, and it could be an alternative to other traditional ways of doing medicine.
Maybe we could partner with the health committee on that, or the economic development if it has to do with licenses, you know, like getting them the training and what they need. What do you think?
I kind of wanted to propose even maybe even larger, like the HES and the Economic Development Committee and us all thinking about NYCHA, and you know, cornerstones might be the road in. So we heard tonight, right, that like is it CAMBA or BCAT, you know, is in several of these cornerstones within our district. And as somebody who, you know, professionally you know, is affiliated with some cornerstone programs, it's very limited funding, and you're trying to serve people who have a lot of needs. And so I think for us to be able to maybe bring these sort of committees together who have access to all of these resources and centered around some of our communities that need it the most might be a really great opportunity.
Okay, I see some comments from Taya, who asks if we're interested in the author of how has public school enrollment changed 2 years into COVID? Is that something we're interested to hear about? Okay, we could look into that. And Taya also mentioned that the city is heavily recruiting and hiring licensed doulas since there's more funding. So that's a good thing. Do we know if there are nurse family partnerships? Maybe we should have a meeting with HES about this. Is that something that people are interested in? About because they're looking at health. We're looking at young people. So that's an area of intersectionality.
For sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so we could see about that. Okay, Nick, any other thoughts? We're youth, education, and cultural affairs. We're meeting 5 more times this spring.
Not from me, but I'm not necessarily hearing anything cultural that was elevated. So I was wondering if maybe folks had some ideas along that lines. So it's a lot of education and right children.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ellis has their hand up.
Ellis?
Yeah, I want to go back to Nick's original question, which is like what topics, and I would like to reserve the right to come up with topics after this meeting. For me, I often need to like think and digest and integrate, and then I might come up with something. But meanwhile, while I was thinking about that, I thought of 2 other topics. The presentation that I know for sure Betty and I saw from the young people, I think you know what, that presentation is not like what they did with us is not exactly suitable, but I would love to have the opportunity for those young people to come speak at the very least to our committee to talk about what they would need from us to have meaningful participation in the community board work. And the other thing that I am getting a little tiny bit nervous about is what I'm kind of reading in the media about libraries and funding for libraries. And I know that for our community board, I mean, our libraries are like, you know, our mainstays. They do a lot of programming, they do a lot of stuff. And if anything, we need libraries open more with more resources, not less. And so I don't know if that's the presentation, but that's certainly something that I think we need to stay on top of. And I'm not exactly sure what that would be like. And I reserve the right to come up with other topics after this meeting. If that is, I mean, I'm reserving.
Please do.
It's
Please
okay.
do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Liz,
think,
to that point, Ellis, please, anyone, board members, members of the general public, anyone with big email lists, please come to the special meeting on Monday. I will drop the link in the chat again, because Ellis is correct. There's been some discussion about cutting funding. The preliminary budget that was released, and you will see a link to it in the link I'm going to put in the chat, does indicate cuts for public schools and libraries. So this board advocated strongly for increased funding in those categories in very specific ways in our CD needs statement. So please come to the discussion on Monday and help shape the phrasing of how we're going to advocate for that, because the mayor and the city we are required to send a letter of comment to the mayor to review during this preliminary budget review. It's dense, I know.
yeah, the good thing about looking at some of those documents, and I have to give it a lot more time, you can see what the other community boards requested and what their language was. And I know that Taya has said for the last year, we have to be very specific, like not just say, we need playgrounds fixed up, but this playground at this school, at this location is falling apart. It's, you know, a hazard, the kids have accidents, etc. So we want to see how that approach to that very specific, because it's different than what some of the boards say, you know, improve the playgrounds. Well, that's great. If you're a city analyst looking at all these reports, isn't it better to know which school is really falling, you know, that the playground is not a smooth surface. Okay. End of thoughts about playgrounds. So yeah, so hopefully as many as possible will go to the Monday meeting. Keeping us busy, Tay, with all these meetings. Okay. So is there anything else to add to this topic? Oh, it's keeping Taya busy. Okay, so is there any other business to come before this committee? Anyone else? Some people have left this. Okay, so hearing none, I really I'm so glad to see our CEC colleagues. We're all advocates in our own ways and in our own committees. And yeah, it's good to work together on this for our children. Okay, so in hearing no other comments, I thank everyone for their time and passion. And is there a motion to adjourn? Sam and Santia. Okay, good night, be well, and hopefully we'll see you Monday.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks.